Hello and welcome. I'm Shalene from Cornerstone, here with Rachel Carrott from Adopt South and Vicky Pike from Adoption East Midlands to talk about how VR program is used within their services.
My name is Rachel Carrott. Everyone calls me Kaz. I'm an assistant team manager, but I'm a training and development social worker predominantly, and I work for Adopt South, which is the regional adoption agency for Hampshire County Council, Isle of Wight Council, Portsmouth City Council, and Southampton City Council.
Hi, I'm Vicky Pike. I am team manager in adoption support at Adoption East Midlands. Our local region is Nottinghamshire County Council, Derbyshire County Council, Nottingham City, and Derby City.
Why did your RAAs choose VR?
So for Adopt South, the use of virtual reality within our team, within our social workers, actually predates the regional adoption agency coming together. Hampshire County Council Adoption Services were using it, Hampshire Fostering Services were using it. So it was a tool that a lot of our staff were familiar with. But, the technology is really innovative, it's really powerful. The feedback that we get from our families that we work with is always brilliant, and there's no training tool quite like it. We like to be innovative, taking the lead in some of this work. So for us, it's a no-brainer.
I think in Adoption East Midlands, I think the driver towards using the VR was around creating stable placements and really enabling families to have a much deeper understanding about the needs of their child. And I remember sort of being in the first discussion about it and just having that sort of wow moment when I first saw the Carnaby Street video and the In Utero video, and I realised the potential of it straight away. And from that point on, it was like, we have to use this, because I can absolutely see where we could move all our families into for the better of them all as a family, and for the children, and for longer term understanding when there are challenges. I think for anybody, as soon as you see the content, you'll know and understand straight away why it's of value.
So we're going to look next at where you've embedded VR into your REAs and what that looks like.
So virtual reality is kind of used across all sort of aspects of our adoption service. So if we start with stage one, this is the first point of call that our prospective adopters will actually engage with the VR and with the videos. So what happens is our stage one social workers will deliver a one-day training course for prospective adopters, and the virtual reality clip, the Childhood Being Me group of videos, is shared with the prospective adopters at kind of this early stage before they go and sort of move into that full assessment. And then in stage two, the team that I sit in and that I work with, this is where bulk of our preparation training takes place. It's really embedded within our training course. There's different ways that we use it here. We do use it in the way of putting the headset on, but we also use it in a slightly different lens as well, where we'll connect the VR up to what we call a mirror cast, and we can project what somebody's seeing on the headset up onto the screen. It allows one of our prospective adopters or one of the mentors, facilitators, whoever in that space, to control the visual for everybody. So we can target certain areas that we want to cover in terms of our sessions and themes. For instance, the brain development, we're looking up at those brain synapses, those neural pathways, those connections. When we're thinking about those 4 types of abuse, what are we observing? What are we seeing? What we also do within the stage 2 training with the VR is we relook at some of the clips that the prospective adopters would have looked at in stage 1. We know that every time you watch it, you see something, you feel something slightly different. So we're really keen for that to happen for our prospective adopters. But we also build on it where we kind of bring in some of the clips from adolescence content. So we look at Rayleigh as a teenager, we meet Aisha, and we introduce themes such as latent vulnerability, social thinning, hypervigilance, and this really helps us to cement that actually the impact of abuse, neglect and trauma, the longevity that can come with this, and actually what this means for adoption, it's not the here and now, it's for the rest of your life as a parent. So that's kind of where it sits in terms of that kind of pre-approval training. Our colleagues in our stage 2 assessment team will also use the virtual reality headsets as part of their assessment work. So there might be kind of direct areas where they kind of really sort of target in with the family. They can use the virtual reality headsets. Equally, our family finding team, they've all been trained as well. There might be certain things where we're looking at matching where they might want to use the headsets with families too. And then moving across to the other side of Adopt South in terms of that adoption support, actually what happens once a child has been placed or once that order's been granted. Our adoption support colleagues, again, they have a pool of headsets that they use, which they can use in terms of direct work with families and also part of their training courses as well. So it's something that's very much interwoven with our service and across the vast majority of our teams and social work trained staff and support staff.
Just bringing back to the aftercare, what
Yep.
does that actually look like? What are the strategies that your trainers and
So
practitioners put in place?
So yeah, usually what we'll do is when we're sort of in advance of the session, we're letting people be aware of this video is going to show certain levels of abuse. We're giving that pre-warning to our families. You know, for some people, you can have this in this group setting, or maybe we'll do this at a separate time. Or maybe that this isn't for you. We're not putting people in a position where it's like, you will have to do this. But the majority absolutely do want to do it, at least in that first instance. For me, when I'm running sessions, like I will make sure that as soon as we've covered those couple of clips that we're going to do, that we're stopping for a break. We're giving people that time to process what they've seen, talk, share, and if they want to go out for fresh air or talk to the trainer or anything like that, they have that opportunity to do that in that space. And then equally following the sessions, if we're moving on from that, there's that kind of duty of care of after the session being like, okay, if there's anything at all, come and grab me afterwards, ring me afterwards, email me afterwards. I co-facilitate a lot of the training with an adopter as well. So actually, if you want to talk to somebody who will really get it from that other side of the coin effectively, there's that person that's available to do that too. A lot of what our work is at this stage of the process is assessment work. And we have to understand what's their kind of trigger points and things that they're going to struggle with. Sometimes we kind of have to challenge people to get that information out. But when we do that, that makes our assessments have better quality evidence and understanding, which in turn leads us to getting better matches for children and for families. So we do have that support.
The beauty of the VR is everybody views it very differently. Like what they see in a film, you might not have seen. They've seen something that's really stood out for them. It's their own reflections, isn't it? And it's how it brings about a narrative that you might not have got through simply asking a question, or they might not have realised that there was something underlying for them that they hadn't realised was a trigger for them. And I think certainly what we've been hearing back from partners is that it's allowing a space for people to reflect on that and to get support if they need support. And if the right time isn't now, that's okay. It's better that they are aware of that, and that actually for a child, they've not been placed in a situation where actually it's not been the right journey for them. So like you say, in assessment, it's really important to be having these really detailed conversations to understand each other better, isn't it?
I agree. And I think those layers of revisiting the experiences as you move through the journey in adoption is really valuable. And sometimes adopters need help to see that. So like sometimes we've had adopters say, oh, I've seen this, I don't need to come. And we're sort of explaining that we'll be thinking about this really differently this time. It is the same experience, but stay with us and let us help you to see that you'll see something really different now because you've grown. And I think it's an opportunity, you know, when you give adopters opportunities throughout the process, pre-approval, through match, then into placement, and then into longer term placement, people can see how they've grown. And I think that's positive for people because that's empowering, isn't it, to know how much you've grown in your understanding of yourself and others and your child, which is ultimately our goal.
I completely echo that. Something that I always share as a trainer when I'm facilitating with VR, and I know that they've seen some of these videos before, as I talk about, you know, run this training, I don't know, 200 times, right? But actually, every time we do it, I can guarantee there's always something that we've not talked about that comes up in discussion and something we go, oh, yeah, hadn't thought about that, hadn't seen that, hadn't considered that. So I always kind of go in with I promise you, you will see something different. I see something different every time. And people kind of go, oh, okay, we'll give you another shot then, like see what you come out with, Kaz. But it's true, isn't it? It's absolutely true.
I think particularly in adoption support, I think sometimes we've got the different parenting styles, haven't we? And it's recognised actually sometimes people don't think they're doing therapeutic parenting, but they are doing therapeutic parenting, but they didn't realise that, and it's building the confidence as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think that point that Kaz has made about there's always something different to talk about. And that's because as people, we're so different. And the VR impacts on people so personally and individually. That's the value of it, is that it speaks to you as an individual. Like, I've seen Carnaby Street loads of times, but I experience it completely differently every time, because I might be in a different mood every time. I might be more tired one day than another. I might be feeling more emotional one day than another. And then, sometimes I cry, sometimes I don't. That's the real thing that we bring into family life. And I think that the VR helps us to see that and acknowledge it and embrace it, and that that's okay, because it is taking us to that level of thinking and feeling. That's what we see, and that's what people feed back to us.